Everybody. Welcome to our episode of Coffee with the Critters. Hi. And there's that. I will be standing up and training throughout this, and I'm sitting here with volunteer Erica Blagrave.
Hello.
Right?
Yeah, that's
right?
correct.
So I'm sitting here with Erica in my hair. Yeah. Go. So welcome to another episode of Hope everybody's sleeping in this morning.
You tell him, Casey. Yeah. That's right.
Come over here. Come here. Come here. Get in the live stream. Come up here. There we go. So, yeah, this is what I tell people. It's usually quiet in here until I go live.
Exactly. It was totally quiet until you pushed the button.
I know.
I know.
Let's give it a second. So usually when I talk low, everybody kind of settles down. Morning, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Coffee with the Critters. My name is Laura Joseph, owner of the Animal Behavior Center. We're an international educational center teaching people around the world, helping empower animals and the people that care for them. Actually got in my mouth. I'm not right. Helping people across the world empower the lives of animals and the people that care for them. Then extinction burst happening. Hang on. People's like, you go in there now.
Yeah.
Okay, you want to get down? Thanks. Okay, there we go. Good morning. Is everybody sleeping in this fine holiday weekend? Not anymore.
I'm awake.
So I'm sitting here with Erica Blagrave. She's been a volunteer here for 4 months?
5 months.
5 months?
Beginning of April.
Yay. Let's get this off of here. There we go. See, like how that happens? I think the only other person that sat here beside me for Coffee with the Critters is Deb Jones.
Oh, wow. It's an honor.
So, hey, everybody, good morning. Good morning, Bobby, Andrew, Donna, Therese, Patricia, Anderson, Sandy. Hi, I'm going to reinforce that. Hang on. Erica's like, fine, thanks. Leave me on camera by myself. Okay, so somebody asked, is that sunshine? I don't know. That was a lot of birds. That was Coco. There's sunshine. That is the scream we're trying to modify. Good morning, Jennifer. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Coffee with the Critters. How, Coco? Before we get started, I just want to mention a couple of things. If you pay attention to our events, my travel schedules usually picks up in the fall, and it's getting ready to starting next weekend. And hopefully I take you with me. Coffee with the Critters next weekend is going to be in Manawa, Ohio. Not sure on the time yet. I speak at 1. I'll be doing live training and behavior demonstrations at Parrot Hope Rescue. And I try to keep up to date on our events. But if you want to find out what's happening here, as far as our events, you can take a look at our website, which is theanimalbehaviorcenter.com. And our new website, I know I keep saying this, but our website is pretty intense, is getting ready to launch within the next day or two. And the website's been quite the project because it's focused on our memberships and our projects, because our memberships and our projects are our online learning programs, which are pretty popular. Our level 1 and level 2 membership is about understanding animal behavior, the science of behavior with podcasts. You're not in level 1, are you? I should get you in there because I think you're going to really enjoy it. And then our projects, Coco, are species specific, and we'll talk about that. But you can find all of that on our website at theanimalbehaviorcenter.com. Something else I wanted to mention is, see how all this handiwork goes on behind the scenes?
Yeah, wow. Busy.
Yeah. Sign up for our email newsletter list. Sorry, I got to listen to what's going on behind me. I try to send out an email newsletter every other week, and it usually goes in detail about a behavior training topic, sometimes with video included, so you can sign up right here on our Facebook page. Coco! And then, good morning, everybody. Hey, Kelly. That's next weekend in Manoa, Ohio. So I'll be doing Coffee with the Critters from there next weekend. Not sure what the time, but I'll also be doing live training and behavior demonstrations, and giving a presentation. And I will live stream that in the Parrot Project if Parrot Hope does not mind. I've recently been interviewed 3 different times on Blue Zoo Radio, and Blue Zoo TV was here a couple weeks ago. And they're going to do a little TV clip on the Animal Behavior Center on a couple different topics with the awesome Frank Reese. What?
Oh, and honey. Those sweet little honeys.
Yes, are deceiving. So pay attention to that. And then we can start talking about some topics. And I want to talk to Erica today about just everything that brings you here. Let's go ahead and get this off the screen.
Oh,
Kissy, kissy. So Erica has been with us here at the Animal Behavior Center for 5 months. And hey, Rocky giving kisses too. So I wanted to have you on because now that you've been here 5 months and you've been watching Coffee with the Critters, you said for how long before then?
On and off for 3 years.
Okay. How did you hear about the Animal Behavior Center?
A friend of mine reposted something that you had posted, and I started digging into it and realized you were literally not far from where we live. I didn't even know you existed, so I was really excited not only that you existed, but you were right up the road. So.
Yeah, and most people don't know. The Animal Behavior Center will be 7 years old in February, on February 21st, to be exact. Hi, Rocky. Coco. Hi. Most people don't even know we exist because I don't advertise locally because most of our business is around the world. And we do that through our live stream. So, Erica, what made you start watching? Was it just interested in animals, interested in behavior, interested in applied behavior analysis?
Well, I didn't know what applied behavioral analysis was. So that really got my attention as to the whole positive reinforcement, because being a mother of 2 teenagers, I was a big believer in negative reinforcement. I'm kidding, but not.
No, but honestly, let's talk about that for a second, because nice job, Rock. B.F. Skinner said the main form of behavior modification, behavior control is coercion. Do it or else, which
Absolutely.
is a form of negative reinforcement, which is how I was raised. I was raised with positive reinforcement.
Sure.
Reinforcement.
Yeah, I would say the same. But I found the whole concept of positive reinforcement very interesting. And the fact that I'm a huge bird lover, I've always loved birds, so that was a huge attractor to me for wanting to continue to watch and see how you interacted and trained the birds, because I know they're not easy, and it's a privilege when they actually give you that positive attention. And it's not an easy task to get a bird to enjoy you and have that mutual bond. So I was learning a lot just watching the segments. And
do you see how it can apply to any animal?
Yes, including humans.
Yeah.
I found myself, I wish I had known of this much longer ago when my kids were younger, because it is one of those things. Even with my own dog, I have an 11-year-old Shorkie. I embarrassingly have done the whole shock collar, the barking collar.
And then don't be embarrassed of that, because I used to use the prong collar on my Dalmatian because I didn't know any better.
Yeah, well, and it's that instant, you think it's going to be an instant gratification, but it actually had quite the opposite effect. He became angrier and barked more.
This is your Shorkie?
Mm-hmm. And just seeing you apply some of the techniques that you used with even Snow, the blind deaf dog, was amazing to me. But just in general, and you speaking of the behaviors and just using the positive, so removing the collar and going out, taking the extra time, which I think is what a lot of people have to take a step back and make the time when they have these animals in their lives. Much like humans, they need the same amount of attention and just attention as humans do to have that change take place.
And something you just said, Katie Sislow and I were talking about this yesterday too. Katie, and I've got some pictures of her coming up. Katie was in our level 1 membership. Somebody here just said something that made me remote. Chrissy says, learning different is a start. Yep. And when you understand it, when you begin to understand it, you see how effective it is.
Yes.
And
consistency is key.
Yes. And that reminds me what I was going to say. And I tell people in consultations, and I just did this in a dog consultation we had the other day, and I said, the hardest part is going to be for you to pay attention. That is the hardest part. And it's not uncommon when we're sitting in there in a behavior consult where I'm just like, reinforce the dog's behavior, reinforce. They're like, oh, I didn't even notice. And I was like, that's the problem.
Mm-hmm.
That's the problem.
Mm-hmm.
What we do notice is when the animal starts giving undesired behavior, that's what gets our attention.
Absolutely.
And then that's when it's too late to interact, because you don't want to redirect behavior at that point, because that, after the animal's already given the undesired behavior, if you wait for it to happen and then you redirect and reinforce, the animal is probably going to start thinking it has to do the undesired behavior for you to. You see how easy that happens.
Oh, yeah. And just identifying as the positives and making sure they're aware that you're aware of the positives. I think it sounds so obvious, but I feel like that's one of the things that I know personally that I wasn't doing a good job of. And as soon as I started letting my dog especially know, hey, good boy, and having the treats, just little pieces, because that's a huge reinforcer for my dog. And I think we have a much better relationship. And he's even...
He wants to be with you now.
Yeah.
And you'll see him start to give desired behaviors, because not only do they want the treat, right, Rocky? They want that interaction with you.
Yes. And there's a difference with my husband, too. He couldn't stand being around my husband. And now all of a sudden, he's been applying some of those same techniques. And it's just been a really positive experience for us. Just in a small, short of time.
You see different.
I do, and it's nice. It's like, wow, not only do I see it work here, but I'm starting to see it affect my own life, and so it's been really cool. It's been an awesome experience.
Good,
yeah,
good. And I tell a lot of people a lot of times, hi. We talk about this in our level 1. Sorry, everybody.
No. You gotta let them know they're doing good with the little highs. Yeah.
Oh, thanks, Rock. I'm being negatively reinforced to pay attention. A lot of times, like in our in our level 1 membership and in our level 2, but primarily in level 1, I try to get people to understand positive and the difference between positive and negative reinforcement and positive and negative punishment. Nice job, Rock. In everyday human behavior.
Mm-hmm.
Like I tell people, we'll do these small activities where I ask people, when you're driving to work, pick out a negative reinforcer on the way.
Right.
When you're driving home, pick out a positive reinforcer, whatever. A lot of times I'll say things like, when you're doing behavior, which we always are, when we're giving behavior, ask yourself why you're doing this. There you will define the reinforcer behind the behavior. Now, are you doing it because you want to, because it gives something of value, or are you doing it to escape, avoid a consequence? And that's the difference between negative and positive reinforcement. And here, we try to stay as far away from negative reinforcement and positive punishment as much as possible. We will start with, I usually start with just like observing the animal. Because to control behavior using negative reinforcement, primarily negative reinforcement is giving a behavior to escape avoid a consequence. So an example could be, and I often give this example, several years ago, when I used to work for an organization, I was told, hi, sunshine. I was told, do this or else. And that didn't make me want to be around my boss.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't make me want to work harder.
Mm-hmm.
When you use a threat with me, well, back then, because I was young and cocky and I was just going to quit. Bye, see ya, Whereas if you want me to do something, if he would have just came up to me and said, Laura, I really need your help on an exam, I would have worked an extra hour, no charge, just to help you because you needed help.
Right.
So 2 different techniques to try to get the same behavior. When he used negative reinforcement with me, did not work. I went back to my computer, threw the disc on the table, and sat there and filed my nails, waited about 10 minutes, walked back in, and said, I'm sorry, I couldn't open it up.
That sounds a little familiar. I can totally relate to the corporate world and some of the tactics that
Because you used to be in the corporate world, too.
Yes, I absolutely was in the corporate world for 17 years. And also the military world. So I know all about the human behaviors as far as different ways of getting people to do things that you would like them to do. And there is an art to that. Some people, it's more natural, I would say, which is a blessing because it comes from the heart and you can tell. And when you truly have a passion for it, it shows, as opposed to someone who's just desperately trying to find an angle, which is, you can still appreciate that as well. It's all about trying to figure it out. And I think anytime people take the time to figure things out, whether it's with other humans or with animals, that says a lot about them as a soul. That's a good thing. They want an interaction to be meaningful and as positive as possible for everyone. It's not just a selfish thing. It's a very, very healthy thing because it affects everyone and everything you do.
In your quality of life.
Everything. Absolutely.
Yep. And not really sure what Milo's doing on the other side of the door. Hey, it's Milo.
Literally knocking on the door.
Good girl. Good girl. I don't mind reinforcing that behavior because that's an odd noise.
Yeah.
You know, through tough times in life, somebody said something to me once, especially recently, which really stuck. You have control over your own happiness. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And that's how I try to, I mean, it takes work here trying to organize this place, keep the place in order every day.
Yes.
And I want to do it through primarily focusing on positive reinforcement. We have volunteers here. Some of these volunteers here have been here for 7 years.
Yeah.
So, and I sit here and think, I need to identify that reinforcer and make sure it keeps going, you know, because we're run by volunteers, and in return, hopefully the volunteers get the education and seeing things done. And like I try to bring in the training room, different animals,
Yes.
which some are coming.
Is so appreciated.
Yeah. So having the opportunity to sit there and make toys next to a kestrel or a lemur or 4 ostriches running around your feet, you know. Positive reinforcement is based on the individual. I know attention is a big reinforcer, but not for everybody. Not everybody likes attention.
Sure.
Like not everybody likes surprise birthday parties,
Yeah.
you know? So you can punish behavior by the misuse of attention.
Absolutely. But it's just a matter of sometimes just taking a step back and paying attention. And that's
Which is hard
it's
for
so,
most
but
people
it's
to
so
do.
obvious, but
Mhm.
it is. It's hard because you get caught up in routines and behaviors. And what do they say? It's 21. It takes 21 days to create a habit, good or bad, something along those lines. And it's so true because when you get into good habits, then that becomes the cycle. And when you get into bad habits, that becomes the cycle. And both are just as easy to, but you just have to take the step back and you have to realize, you have to identify the issue. And there's a lot of pride. People don't want to say, my dog is not behaving because of me. I'm not spending the time. I know me personally, it's one of those things where, oh, he's just cranky. That's just how he is. All the different excuses that I myself found myself saying, oh, that's just the breed. That's just this. But you have shown me and things that you say both on here and in person that no, anything can be trained. That every behavior is trainable. And you were talking about training fish, and I'm in awe of that. But it makes sense. It's the whole thing is it's all just, it can be applicable to everyone and everything.
Yep. Applied behavior analysis is not about, it's about the individual. It's not about the species. It's about the laws of behavior, using the laws of behavior.
And
Who's that talking to about that? Go ahead.
I was going to say, you brought up about the volunteers, and you've had some that started since you opened the center 7 years ago, and I know there's a couple that were been here for 3 years, and then a little bit shorter of a time. You have the best group of humans here helping you, honestly.
I don't. We do.
Yeah, well.
You know what I mean? Because
I'm so happy when I come in here to interact with the humans here, because that passion and that heart is there, and it's truly a genuine, cool thing. That whole common, everybody has a love and a passion to do better and to learn and continue learning. Nobody thinks they know everything. It's just a really fantastic experience. So I know that in itself is a positive reinforcer for all of us, because we've all talked about it to each other that we just love being around the center and the people.
Yeah.
And obviously the animals.
Right. I
That's
think the animals is what the attraction is.
That's
first.
the initial attraction. And I think that everything else is a surprise icing on the cake.
Yeah. And we have a really great group of volunteers, which is one of the reasons I wanted to have you on here, because people see that's what the behavior spotlight is. It's the members and the volunteers to get to know you. Because people see, like on the Animal Behavior Center's Facebook page, they see a lot of Lindsay, because Lindsay's helping me train.
Yeah.
But I want them to start seeing, look at what all the other volunteers are doing. And I said this one time several years ago, I try my hardest to never reinforce a behavior I don't want to see happen again. So it's when I see something happening here that needs to change, like fast, because either the person doesn't understand, it's a new encounter for the animal, I will run in and give instruction to
Mhm.
help. And it depends on how I give that instruction, whether I come in and say, Erica, you cannot do that. Not, have I ever done that? I really hope I never
No,
have.
no.
Because how I approach
No,
you.
but yeah, you're right there. When something needs to change, you absolutely are Johnny on the spot with making sure. And that's what you're supposed to, because for both the person and the animal can be very negative.
Yeah. And it can punish your behavior wanting to come in here again. So if I run in and say, Erica, we never do something like that, that would stop. If I wanted to, whatever you were doing to stop, that would probably stop the behavior. But how are you going to feel about it? And the next time you come in, I think I'm pretty good at reading people's behavior. Next time you come in, you may avoid eye contact
I'd be sitting
with
there
me.
filing my nails saying, oh, the toy makers are broken today.
I just had my nails done.
Yeah,
Sorry.
do you need something?
That was good. But when I see something and I'm just like, uh-oh, I'm not sure the animal is enjoying this, or the person's something's getting ready to happen to the person. Depending on how I approach that situation is going to be, I want you to keep coming here. I want to set you up for success with that animal. So I could come in and say, hey, Erica, let me show you what works really well, so that.
You're very cognizant of that. You're good about that because you don't make someone feel stupid or you do it in such a way that you're absolutely making your point clear, but you're not doing it in a hostile manner. And it's not necessary. It's because
you're right. It's not necessary. Why? We can change behavior through redirecting or asking another behavior and positively reinforcing the other behavior. So it's not necessary is key. Have I used positive punishment here? Yeah, I have. And it's usually an example of positive punishment is stop. Do not do that again.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And it could be whatever's coming out of my mouth. It could be me blocking you. It could be me doing it to an animal.
Mm-hmm.
If I rely on a positive punisher alone to change behavior, it's usually because I'm lazy. I'm being lazy. And I want that behavior now, and I know I can get it to stop, and I don't care about the feeling of the person who's receiving it or the animal. If I do that, and I've done some things here out of being lazy, I can't have this happen right now.
You're human on top of it, too.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. But the positive punisher behind me continuing to interact that way is reading the behavior of the individual.
Sure.
Because I would see you just go, I'm so sorry. I don't want you to feel like that here. I want you to feel like, yeah, thanks, man. All right, I'll see you at 10 tomorrow.
Yeah.
Another example of a positive punisher that I have used here, and it was due flat out laziness. Just lazy. And that's when, and I give this example in my presentations, when I open up that door, mm-hmm. and Levi comes running and he's not paying attention to me and he's just looking right where, and I throw my foot out. You'll see him put on the brakes. Do I get the behavior I want? Sure. But behavior doesn't lie. I'm going to see that, and this is the positive punisher behind me doing that again, is I saw him immediately put on the brakes, ears drop, licked his lips, and avoid contact, cowering, turning around, and running away.
Fear.
And he clearly did not understand why that positive punisher was there. So and I'm just like, shame on me. I know better. I could have done differently, but I chose not to because I just didn't feel like it at that moment. So what I would see the next time, using positive punishers versus to control behavior can confuse animals. And you can get increased aggression. You could get a lot of things. We could get apathy, lethargy. What I saw in him, you see not understanding. I don't understand why that happened. So what I saw the next time was I opened up the door. Levi stood up to run, and he stopped. And he kind of looked up like, are you going to try to kick me again?
Oh.
Even though I didn't kick him, but I'm just saying, I don't know what he thought.
His interpretation.
Because my foot flew out there. And that made me very sad. And I actually, because I'm such a behavior geek and an animal geek, I started crying when I saw that, because I was like, dude, I could have handled this so much differently, and you do not understand. And I know, I'll use constructs here and labels. I know you love the hell out of me. You know what I mean? And you're looking at me with all this nervousness and anxiety, and you don't understand. It's because I didn't feel like doing something else at the time. So that positively punished my behavior doing that again.
Well, we all need it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bet you won't do that again. Yeah.
So, and here's
I know.
very funny, Rock. Here's another thing is I have other trainers coming in here. I don't want them seeing this behavior of nervousness next to the door, because the trainer's going to be like, what happened here? I was like, it wasn't me, it was Erica.
Yeah, right. It's the new girl, the volunteer. Rocky.
Very funny,
Are you
Rock.
mocking me?
So does that make sense? Yep. Quentin says, this is more than training our animals. We are being trained or empowered with knowledge. Yeah, absolutely. That's why I always say, when we know better, we do better. You know, if I don't know better and I do get stuck in situations, I'll be like, somebody look at this situation. What am I not seeing? And a lot of times people will be like, well, maybe, and a lot of times I even pull you guys in and say, this is what's happening and I can't figure it out. And then we all kind of use environmental events and we start experimenting to figure it out. And usually we figure it out. So, yeah, and we just had this conversation, our last podcast in level 1 and level 2. And if you get in there and start listening to the podcast, they're addictive. They're very detailed. We just had this, our latest podcast, which I think came out 2 weeks ago. We have them every month on labels, such as using the behavior or the label of aggressive. Okay.
Maybe I am on. I thought that was a Coffee with the Critters episode. I just saw that one. The labels.
I may have gone into minor detail about
Gotcha.
it, but in the podcast we went into major detail.
Okay.
So, like calling Quincy stubborn.
What does that look like?
Yes.
Yeah.
Show me what stubborn looks like.
Yeah.
A popular one with parrots, cockatoo, is hormonal. You know, could this be hormonal behavior? Maybe, I don't know. But if you, what are you going to do with that label? And then I said, what does hormonal look like? Because once you tell me what it looks like, then we can come up with a behavior modification plan. Because a lot of people will say things like, my bird's hormonal, so there's nothing I can do about it. Oh, yes, there is. We got hormones shooting through the roof all over the place in here. You know, we're constantly, and it's 12 months out of the year, depending on if you don't redirect that behavior. But once you tell me what that looks like, somebody will say, you know, my dog's being aggressive. And I'll be like, tell me what that looks like. And it's, be specific, Bob.
Yeah.
When is it happening? When isn't it happening? Who's around? What room is it happening in? Is it happening during the day, during the night? You know, we were just discussing this yesterday in one of our Q&As. Does it happen when you walk by fast? And the person said, no. And I was like, does it happen when you walk by or fast? Yes. Slow? No. And I said, there's where you begin. And then you walk by slow, deliver a positive reinforcer, which isn't always food, and then shape and increase duration and complexity from there. So that was a huge topic in our, thank you, level 1 and level 2. And we had a group live stream on that the other day. Good morning, everybody, and happy Labor Day weekend for those that are just joining. My name is Laura Joseph, and I'm sitting here with Erica Blagrave, 5-month volunteer here at the Animal Behavior Center. And you, I don't know if you want me to talk about this.
I don't know. What are you going to talk about?
Now that we have your attention,
Yeah.
now that I'm going to let out a secret on Erica, you mentioned to me the other day in a text that you would like to get into this field.
I'm absolutely considering the possibilities.
Of working with animals, of working with applied behavior analysis, both tied together.
Yeah, just together, kind of like I'm still very much learning, obviously, but the whole watching some of the animals evolve and well, what you've already done with the animals coming in here and it's just undescribable really how these animals interact when you're around them and like how you've gotten to this point with them in establishing such a wonderful relationship. And it's so mutual. Like you both have little hearts shooting out of your eyes. Like in any of the animals, it's not, well, with the exception of Sunshine still figuring you out. You guys are both very much figuring each other out.
Yep.
But even Coco, since I've been here, you weren't touching Coco when I first started here.
Yeah.
And watching how just in a short period of time, Coco seemingly is more loving. And then all of a sudden I see you petting Coco and loving on him, and he's truly enjoying, but it's like that he was labeled aggressive, correct? Like,
yep.
So, and then comparing some of his behaviors, you said to Sunshine, you see a lot of similarities.
Sunshine, Coco in November, Coco will be here 3 years. Sunshine reminds me so much of Coco when I brought him here.
Well, and just observing everything that the product of, well, Rocky to me is like just hearing his story and seeing how wonderful this bird is. And he still very much has a personality that you have to get to know. You can't just walk up on him and, hey, buddy. No, and learning that just, I've learned so much just being around your animals. And I'd love to continue to learn more and branch out and even.
Well, let's get you more involved and do some more behavior work and training here.
Yeah,
you know,
I would.
If you're seriously thinking about getting into this field,
yeah,
and I think you should really get into level 1.
It's kind of in my heart a little bit now. So
yeah, good. With you speaking of Rocky Joseph, you can't just walk up and, hey, buddy, how you doing? And here's the thing. This is what happens in the dog world. And when I walk down the street, I start to get this nervous twitch when I see people just walking down the street and reach out and want to pet somebody's dog. That is why I do not take my dogs to a dog park. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's not because of the other dogs, because the other people not understanding. I don't want you reaching out and just petting Quincy. Mm-hmm. And, hey, buddy, how you doing? Just because you're a dog means. That's why I'm not a big fan of the word pet, but that's just me personally, because a pet kind of implies or has a history of reinforcement with me of implying you're my pet, you're here for me for my convenience.
Sure.
When I have the time. Whereas companion animal, Quincy's my companion Rottweiler, Rocky's my companion Moluccan. You're just the love of my life.
Yeah.
You little demon. Which is why he's a little demon.
He loves you so much. It's.
I love you. But companion animal means primarily I'm here for you. I hope you're here for me too. I'll give it back.
Yeah.
And if there's not that mutual foundation, I will rehome the animal. Not because it's not convenient for me. It's because we're not the right match.
Sure.
I can find you a good match because
like
that's how much I care for you.
Yeah.
And we've done that a couple of times here. Mm-hmm. Axel. You don't even know Axel. Mm-hmm. He's a little toucan.
Aw.
Mm-hmm. Axel, Molly, Murray. I think that's it. But those are animals that this isn't the right fit. Not everybody wants to live in here and listen to this. This is hard to listen to, you know? But yeah, I mean, if you're interested in getting into this, let's go. Yeah, let's get you working. Definitely. I could use some help with some hoof trimming on a pig. Now that.
I'll bet that's.
Yeah.
That'll be memorable.
Yep. I could use some help with some nail trimming of some dogs, deaf and blind dogs. That's going to take some work.
Sure.
But it's really going to, we don't learn from easy.
No.
You know what I mean? What you were saying about Coco. So Coco reminds me a lot of Sunshine when Sunshine first came here. This was Coco yesterday. Have you seen this? I haven't shown anybody this photo because you weren't here. This is me on the right, and that's Maddie I can't remember how old Maddie is, but Katie Sislow was here. She was in our level 1 membership. She's a professional dog trainer from Wisconsin.
Okay.
She brought her family here yesterday, and her daughter Maddie loves animals, but specifically loves birds. And I took this photo, and this is Coco, who nobody touches.
Yeah.
But Lindsay and I, and
Yeah.
I had to show Lindsay, this is how you introduce yourself. This is
Great.
so
That's
here.
pretty awesome.
Yeah, so I told her yesterday, and hopefully that was a nice job, Rock. That was a positive reinforcer for her, and I think it was because she couldn't wipe the smile off her face afterwards.
Oh, absolutely.
But I was sitting there with her right before this started.
Coco's leaning into it.
She's leaning into her.
Mhm.
But I took her hand and guided her how to pet on top, and then I slowly faded my hand out, positively reinforced Coco by petting him myself,
Mhm.
and then let her take over. And I was just like, that right there is something to be very proud of.
Absolutely. That's awesome.
Yeah. So I hear toenails, and it's Coco.
Well, even Rocky, initially, our first encounter, he was very skeptical. And then Brittany was with me, and he gravitated to Brittany very easily. He's like, hey, I like you. You, I'm not so sure of. And I had to earn and build that trust. And now he's...
Yeah, and that's... when we use labels and when we anthropomorphize, we can get ourselves in deep trouble. And some of the animals that I work with, not here, because I won't bring that type in here, I'll go work with them somewhere else. You use labels and anthropomorphize, you're going to get yourself hurt, if not killed.
Mm-hmm.
So that first encounter you had with Rocky,
Mm-hmm.
I was watching and I was trying to understand. I was like, this is not going as good as it could be.
Right.
So I remember telling you.
It was a distinct difference just observing from my end. I wanted him. Who doesn't want an animal to like you?
Right.
And so I just knew he was going to love me because I already loved him.
Yep.
And but he didn't. But I watched how he interacted with Brittany. It wasn't negative. It was just simply I use the word skeptical because he was just kind of looking at me like, I'm not sure about you, lady, but this one seems she's cool. But and so like Brittany, it was a different interaction. Like he totally had a different reaction to her versus me. So
yeah,
and
in here, tell me if you felt like this, because I feel like this sometimes when I'm like, man, I really want to work with this animal. I want to develop this relationship. And then I get a growl or
I was sad.
I was just like, oh, that really sucks.
I was a little heartbroken.
I can
I'm
tell
not going to
you
lie. I was, oh.
You're like, man, I came here because I really love Rocky, and now
I'm sorry, Erica. No, I'm fine. I'll be okay.
I could just see your heart sink. So I was just like,
yeah,
that's funny now, huh?
I know. We can laugh about it now. Yeah.
But I told you, I just said, back off for now.
Yeah.
Because if I know what you want, believe me, I've been there. If you keep trying to build that relationship and take too big of steps and he's not ready, you're going to positively punish your encounters with him.
Sure, yeah.
So then we took a step back and we even started working that day. And it sucked for you because Brittany's over there, hey, Rocky, how's it going? You know, Rocky loves me, and Brittany's like, I don't even have a bird and I don't know birds.
Yeah, that was a little difficult that day.
Yeah, but then you would go up when he was at a distance and put a food reinforcer and then remove yourself, which we talk about a lot in the Parrot Project,
right? Where
to begin. And now you're getting that relationship back. Nice job, Rico. I saw that getting ready to happen. Spoiled means get positive reinforcers for just being cute. That is Rico, as my mom calls him. So how is the little demon anyways?
Well, yeah, he's a difficult nut to crack there with his personality. He loves Tamara. And the Lindsay progress.
Yeah.
That's been pretty phenomenal.
But give us a second. So we'll just put this up here for everybody to read. Christy says, Before I found you, I worked for a vet, and they had a bird that they kept in the back. No one interacted with her for the first 3 months on the job. I worked with her, and we became besties. Unfortunately, I had to make a decision for my well-being and leave the vet. And here's the thing: when we know better, and this doesn't just apply to birds, but it's very common with birds. The more intelligent the animal, the harder it is to keep. Keeping an intelligent animal as a companion is not easy. I've had several people come in here and be like, "Oh, I want a bird." I'm like, instead of saying, "Oh no, we don't," I say, "Come here, come feed the birds real quick." You know what I mean? By the time they're out, they're like, "Oh yeah, I'm just sick of my dog," you know, or get a house plant. Get a house plant. I know his voice is changing. This is when he starts getting very stressed. So all I'm doing is turning on my camera and turning it around so I can see what he's doing. Where are you?
Oh, he's
staring right at us. So the more intelligent an animal, the harder it is to keep. What do you think? There's no wrong answer. What do you think is top priority here
for the center.
for the animals?
Oh man, I'd have to go back to the 2 words would be attention and consistency.
Yep.
I think they're both equally important because I can tell when you're out of town, your animals act differently.
Oh, like what?
And no, no, they miss you, and they're not getting the same attention. And we give them attention here, but you can tell they miss your attention.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Ask any of the volunteers. It becomes very obvious when you're not here. They're like, when's she going to be back? You're okay, but when's she going to be back?
Yeah. And I tell people, training is communication. How you communicate. That's when I was like, he's not ringing that bell. Quincy is. Quincy, that's a bird toy. She's like,
Oh.
um,
I know, Rocky.
training and behavior and just empowering the animal is so key. And it's unfortunately one that's often put on the back burner. When you're taking behavior and training and putting it on the back burner, your animals are not flourishing mentally and physically. Yeah. So I can tell when I don't train an animal for 2 or 3 days, I can see major behavior change. So a lot of people think cleaning is most important, or to me, that is the only reason I train, because I want to empower that animal. You empower that animal, you'll see them thrive mentally, however you describe that, and physically.
Absolutely.
But one of the first things we do with almost any animal here is right what you guys are doing in there. Get them foraging for their food.
Yep.
And you see how foraging, do you see why it's so important, everything you guys are doing in that room?
Oh, absolutely.
Because you're empowering these guys in here when I don't have the time to be training. They're preferred based on, well, maybe not Sunshine. No, I'd say Sunshine.
Sunshine's loving some foraging.
And Sunshine's only been here 2 months.
Yeah, that's crazy. Like,
and I'm seeing him thrive on the training. Getting him out.
mm-hmm.
You know, my hands are this far from him on that perch when I'm getting him out, and he is not looking at it like he's going to attack it. He'll look at my eyes for a second, but then he'll look at where is this for me? You know what I mean? I can tell a difference in the behavior of the dogs. You know, when I'm sitting up in the office working and I hear them barking, You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Usually when they bark and they bark excessively, it's a lack of enrichment. So, but anyways, do you see how getting any animal, like we're getting ready to get, let me show you. Let me show you. Hi. We are getting ready to bring in
Oh my goodness.
Dylan Pickles.
I can't wait.
And he's going in that room.
Oh, awesome.
So do you see how, I mean, and it's, these guys are like, blah. Wait till I show you some videos. I was in there training and they're like, toon, 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 all over me. And I'm just going, where are you? You know? So this is what this photo was. I was like, I started focus and control exercises. You know, I need to understand you. I've only trained these lemurs maybe 3 times before. And I didn't even know exactly what I was walking into when I was walking in their cage, wearing enclosure. What I did is I went up, and I wasn't even supposed to be training them. And I was just sitting there watching them. And as soon as I came up to the, thanks, Rock. Thank you. As soon as I came up to the side of the enclosure, what I got was, choom, choom, and they were both like this in front of me. And I was just like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
Is this a good thing
Right.
on my part or a bad thing? So I just walked up and I fed through protective contact. And then I started asking them to go different places. And what I was doing was get a read on their behavior. When their ears are flat, when their ears are up, the vocalizations that come out of their mouth. So then I started target training and they were picked up on the nose target like that. And I was just like, hello, can I, somebody give me the history on these two? And I went in and but I did a lot of work with them outside the cage. And I was like feeding them just to see what their temperament was through the cage bars. And I was like, we have some great candidates here. Hi. Hang on. I want to reinforce that. Hey. Hey. Hello.
What are you doing, Rocky?
Dill and Pickles are getting ready to come here for training. And we may be bringing in a Harris hawk.
Oh, wow.
Who's going to be housed in here.
Okay.
And we may be bringing in a black vulture.
Oh, wow.
We'll see. Our hands are going to be full as far as training.
Mm-hmm.
So people want to volunteer here and say, I'll just clean cages. And it's like, no. The person in my cages are the best trainers that I have.
Sure.
Because peekaboo, you're going to keep undesired behaviors on an intermittent schedule of reinforcement. And that's why I require the volunteers to come here 2 days a week. Mm-hmm. If you want to come in this room, you have to be here 2 days a week. Because when you're not, I can tell. And one of the first things I do is, do you know what you're reinforcing when you touch that doorknob? You know? So yeah, I'm excited you're here.
Thank you. I'm excited to be. I love being here.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. And that's what we hear from a lot of people that visit, is this is such a happy place to be.
It really is. It's so happy. And it is really cool to see from the moment I first walked into this door, the change that the progress that I've made with these birds, and they all have very distinct personalities, and we all are starting to know each other a little bit better. So it's an actual relationship that we all have, and it's really cool to come in. I talk to each one of them at least once every time I'm here.
Yep.
I love it.
One of our
I
former,
sound crazy.
I don't know if you've ever seen that little note to the right that says, see the note on the sticky pad down there in the bottom right? Have you ever read that?
Mm-mm.
Some of the most complex animals, the ones we either don't like, we don't have a relationship, why don't you? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You haven't found that connection yet.
Mm-hmm.
Ones that are labeled as severely aggressive, you can't break through to them, those are usually my best educators. And that is from a volunteer that I don't think she had any bird experience either. But she said, I pet Rico. I was able to pet Rico and I liked it.
Aww.
So in order to stick your fingers in there and be able to pet him,
that's an
you've
amazing
done your work.
feat. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So some other animals that we work with that you really have to get to know them. This is one of my favorite animals. I really enjoy working with the alligators. And I was talking with a alligator trainer yesterday down in the Keys because I need to get into these alligators enclosures, and I'm looking for what kind of protective contact. And she told me, she goes, based on what I just read about you, she goes, I was going to tell you, you need to develop a relationship with these alligators before you do anything else. And she goes, but it looks like you already have. These alligators, we're going to be working with them in the upcoming zoo workshop we have here in 2 weeks. I do have a relationship with this one.
That's really cool.
That one right there, I was just like, I've been training him on and off for a couple of years. Sometimes I don't see him for a year. But it's so cool. We've taught them through off contact to come to us when we call them. And it's cool because you'll see them in their wide open enclosure. And all these people come up and watch. And I'm just like, just watch this. This is the perfect example of conditioned reinforcer. So I sit there and I take these metal tongs and I just go, and all the alligators are like laying in the sun, laying in the water, and they're at a distance. And I'll just go ting, ting, ting. And you'll see all three of them just go, and they all start moving. And it just makes look at my hair on my arm.
Yeah. That's pretty intense.
Yeah. And this is my favorite one. Why? Why is he my favorite? Because I understand him. He understands me. And I'm ready to take it to the next level, which means going in their enclosure. And I've just been chomping at the bit to get in their enclosure. We're going to target train them, scale train them. I want to do get them ready for vet work, vet prep. Be able to, hey, I'm going to touch you here. Please don't move. So yeah, we don't learn from easy. And I really learn a lot from working with animals that I've never interacted with before.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So did this hour fly?
It did, actually. Oh my gosh.
It's 10 o'clock. So thank you for coming on with me. I appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Yeah. And let's get you started and get you moving.
Sounds good.
On working with behavior, and we'll see wherever you want to go with that. Whether you want to start your own business, whether you want to work here, we'll see what happens.
Stay here for now.
Yeah.
I have a lot to learn. Not ready to jump in the alligator cage yet.
Run faster!
Erica, no!
Run, move! Do not do that. So nice job, Rock. A couple upcoming. We have our zoo workshop coming up, which is sold out, and I take it as a compliment. It has been filled within a week, and it was filled by our level 1 and level 2 members. So that is a compliment to me. I must be doing something right and keeping you on the same track. We are going to have more, so pay attention to our email newsletter list and sign up if you want to be notified. If you are a level 1 or level 2 member, you will get first notification of all of our workshops. If you're a member of the Parrot Project, Pig Project, Deaf Dog Project, Snow Project, depending on that species, you'll get notified first because we are having our year 2020 is full of workshops. We have the all species animal training and behavior workshop coming up the second weekend in October with Dr. Deb Jones. There are still a few seats left available for that one. We will be working it. It will be here at the Animal Behavior Center. We will be working with numerous different species, and I'm getting ready to bring in, we'll see. I might bring in a couple species just specifically for that workshop to make sure nobody has worked with that before. Because we don't learn from easy. There's the awesome Katie Sislow that was here visiting yesterday and her awesome daughter, Maddie. If you want to learn more about our projects and memberships, you can find that on our website at theanimalbehaviorcenter.com. Rico, I'm coming. And if you want to get in touch with me, you can do that via my email, laura@theanimalbehaviorcenter.com. Just a couple things. There's our level 1 and level 2 memberships. 1 for companion animals, all species. 2 is more for people thinking about getting in the field, and professional trainers. A referral program for every 5 people, whether you're a member or not, that you refer, that sign up to our projects, for our projects or memberships, earns you a free 1-hour consultation with me online. All right. We have the C4AW event coming up. You can register at c4aw.org. Collaboration for Avian Wellness happening in Chicago the second week of November. See you at Best Friends in 2020. And thank you. That's it.
Right.
All right. Thanks, Erica.
Thank you.
See you guys. Everybody have a happy Labor Day weekend. I will go back through this episode of Coffee with the Critters and address any questions or anything you have that we weren't able to do here today. All right. Take care, guys.